Attention, everyone. Imagine this. A man has it all. Mansions in Connecticut, a 9-figure bank account, and the most ambitious, dazzling woman on his arm. But there's one thing he doesn't possess: respect. Not for the quiet, understated woman waiting for him at home. At the most important gala of his career, with his tigress by his side, he decides to humiliate his wife, to show the world how insignificant she is to him. But he makes a mistake, a catastrophic mistake. He forgets who he is insulting. He thinks he's putting down a nobody. In reality, he is insulting the only person on earth who holds the power to take absolutely everything from him. Like this video and subscribe to our channel to witness the world's most epic corporate justice. The Cat and the Tiger. The sunlight streaming into the breakfast nook of his $50 million estate in Greenwich, Connecticut was, in the opinion of Victor Sterling, aggressive. Too bright, too cheerful. And it exposed a single, nearly imperceptible smudge on the chrome leg of the marble table. "Amelia," he barked, not looking up from his paper. "The staff is slipping again." Amelia Sterling, his wife of 10 years, paused mid-sip of her herbal tea. She was not dressed in silk pajamas, but in simple, functional athletic wear. Her light brown hair pulled back in a neat bun. She looked like a woman preparing to run errands, not the wife of the man Forbes had recently hailed as the new king of New York real estate. She looked at the smudge. "I'll speak to Maria, Victor. It won't happen again. See that it doesn't." Victor was the CEO of Vanguard Developments, the fastest-growing luxury commercial real estate firm on the Eastern Seaboard. In 5 years, he had transformed a modest boutique firm into a multi-billion-dollar giant, with skyscrapers altering the skylines of New York and Boston. He glanced at his wife across the table. She was fine, pretty in an understated, forgettable way. She kept the household running with almost obsessive efficiency. The parties were perfect, the staff impeccable, smudges aside, and she never, ever bothered him with trivialities. She was high-quality background furniture, perfect for his high-speed life. But God, she was boring. His phone vibrated on the table. The screen lit up. Chloe. A slow smile spread across Victor's face. He picked it up. "Sterling. Richie, darling," a husky voice purred on the other end. "I'm looking at the press note for tonight's gala. You're listed as the keynote speaker. They're calling you the visionary." "Are they?" Victor said, leaning back. "Well, they're not wrong." He caught Amelia's eye. She was looking at her teacup, her expression unreadable. He felt a familiar, petty jab of annoyance. She never asked about his work. She never seemed impressed. "Are you going to burn down the stage, babe?" Chloe said. "Just picked up my dress. It's the red Versace, the one you loved. The one with the slit," Chloe murmured. "Looking forward to it. You'll be at my table, of course, front row, where I belong. Send me a photo of the dress," he said, and hung up. Amelia quietly placed her cup on the saucer. "Was that Chloe? Your assistant?" "Executive assistant," Victor corrected her automatically. "And yes, she is finalizing details for the Vanguard Gala tonight. It's the biggest night in Vanguard's history. We're honoring our top partners." "I know. I have my dress ready," Victor sighed. "Amelia, about that. I need you to just blend in tonight. It's a business event. There will be a lot of high-level players. I need to focus on networking. I'll have Chloe with me to handle introductions and manage my schedule." Amelia's gaze finally lifted. Her eyes were a very clear, very pale gray. "You mean you want me to sit quietly and not embarrass you?" Victor bristled. I don't want you to be a distraction. You know how you are. Quiet. People think it's rude. Chloe understands the energy of these events. She's a tigress like me." "A tigress," Amelia repeated. The word was without inflection. "I see. And what am I?" Victor finally folded his paper and gave her his full attention. He felt a surge of dominance, the same he felt when closing a 9-figure deal. You, my dear, are my refuge. You are the quiet harbor I return to. You run this house. You manage our life. That is your strength. Running boardrooms is my strength. Let's not confuse the two. Tonight, I need a tigress at my side. I ask you to be the lamb." He stood up, adjusting the cuffs of his $5,000 Tom Ford shirt. "I'm heading to the office. I'll see you at the gala. Try to look festive." He left the room without a backward glance. He did not see Amelia's hand close around the delicate porcelain cup. He did not see the tiny cracks that suddenly spiderwebbed across its surface. He only heard, a second later, the soft, crisp crunch as it snapped cleanly in two in her hand. Amelia looked at the two perfect halves of the cup in her hand. She did not flinch. She showed no hint of pain as a drop of blood welled up on her palm. "A lamb," she whispered to the empty, sunlit room. "Interesting." She calmly rose, rinsed her hand at the sink, and wrapped a napkin around the small cut. Then she pulled out her own phone, a simple, discreet model. She did not call a friend. She did not call a lawyer. She opened a secure messaging app and typed a single message to one contact labeled M. Harrison. The message was simple: "Initiate storm protocol. Effective tonight. 10 p.m. Ist." The reply was instantaneous. "Confirmed, Madam Chairwoman." "Are you sure?" Amelia looked at the smudge on the table leg Victor had pointed out. She looked at the broken cup. She thought of the red Versace dress. "I'm absolutely sure. They can have their party. It will be their last." The public execution, the gala, held in the grand ballroom of the Waldorf Astoria in New York, was a sea of black ties, dazzling diamonds, and the hungry, glittering smiles of people who either had power or desperately wanted to be near it. The red carpet was 100 feet long. Flashes popped as senators, tech billionaires, and New York society royalty made their way inside. Victor Sterling was the epicenter of it all. He stood on the mezzanine, a glass of Macallan 25-year in hand, soaking it up. Every banner, every customized sculpture, every $1,000 floral arrangement bore the sleek silver V of Vanguard Developments. "You look like a king," Chloe murmured, linking her arm through his. He looked down at her and grinned. The red Versace dress was magnificent. It was less a garment and more a declaration of intent, leaving absolutely nothing to the imagination. Her dark hair was slicked back, her red lips full. She was a tigress, just as he had said. She was a weapon. She was a trophy. "You are dazzling too, Miss Davis," he murmured, his hand landing possessively on the bare skin of her lower back. He scanned the room for Amelia. He spotted her near a quiet alcove, talking to one of the catering managers. She wore a subdued, elegant silver dress. It was a modest, almost severe Carolina Herrera in its simplicity. She looked beautiful, Victor supposed, but in the way a statue is beautiful. Cold, distant, and completely overshadowed by Chloe's vibrant, living color. He felt a pang of irritation. Couldn't she just try to look like the wife of a tycoon? Couldn't she at least pretend to be excited by his success? A reporter from the Wall Street business section approached him, microphone in hand. "Mr. Sterling, incredible turnout. Vanguard has truly redefined the New York skyline. What's the secret to your Midas touch?" Victor smiled, puffing out his chest. He launched into his favorite theme. "It's simple, really. Vision. Audacity. Not being afraid to break things to build something better. While my competitors are busy with focus groups, I'm signing checks and moving earth. You have to be a shark. You have to be willing to devour the competition." "And you certainly have," the reporter said. "The new Asca Tower is a marvel, but a project of that scale. There are rumors you have some very powerful, very quiet backers. The parent company, Ethelred Holdings is famously reserved. Can you tell us anything about them? Victor's smile tightened slightly. Ethelred was his one frustration. They were the money, the deep, endless well of capital that funded his vision. He had never met the board. All his dealings were through an intermediary, a stiff British lawyer named Marcus Harrison. They approved every proposal, wired every dollar, but remained annoyingly anonymous. Ethelred knows a good investment, Victor said smoothly. They provide the fuel, I provide the engine. They're smart enough not to get in my way and let me drive. And speaking of your team, the reporter pressed, nodding toward Chloe. You clearly value a dynamic partnership. Miss Davis is always by your side. Chloe preened. Victor needs people who can keep up, people who see the future like he does. It's an honor to be his right hand. And what about your wife, Mrs. Sterling? The reporter asked, craning his neck to see Amelia, who was now diligently checking a seating chart near the entrance. What role does she play in your success? This was the moment. Victor felt the whiskey, the adrenaline, the adoration in Chloe's eyes. He looked at Amelia, standing there like a stiff administrator, and then at Chloe, who looked like a fire goddess. He felt a surge of contempt so strong it was almost intoxicating. He wanted to draw a line. He wanted to show everyone who mattered and who didn't. He laughed, a short, dismissive bark. Amelia? Oh, she's essential. He gestured widely, and nearby conversations quieted as people turned to listen. Amelia looked up, her gray eyes locking onto his from across the room. You see, Victor said, his voice ringing out. To build an empire, you need two things. You need a tiger, and you need a house cat. He ran his hand down Chloe's arm. You need someone with fire. A tigress, he emphasized, who can hunt with you, who can take down rivals, who understands the kill. He grinned at Chloe, who was practically vibrating with triumph. Then he pointed his glass directly at Amelia. The entire ballroom, hundreds of people, followed his finger. Amelia stood frozen, the spotlight finding her. And then, Victor continued, with a shrug of magnanimous condescension, you need a house cat. Someone who keeps the cushions warm. Someone who makes sure the pantry is stocked. Amelia is the finest homemaker a man could ask for. She's simple. She keeps my domestic life organized so I can focus on the things that actually matter. Every king needs a castle, and she's a wonderful, quiet little manager of mine. The silence that followed was heavy and absolute. The reporter's smile froze. Chloe, however, let out a small, triumphant giggle. Victor, mistaking the stunned silence for awe, raised his glass. So, a toast. To the tigers, and to the patient little house cats who support us. Amelia did not flinch, did not cry, did not flush with embarrassment. Her expression remained one of perfect, placid calm. She simply held his gaze for 1, 2, 3 seconds. For Victor, it felt like a block of ice sliding down his spine. Then she turned. Not abruptly, but with a slow, deliberate grace, and walked out of the ballroom. Ah, she's shy, Victor said, trying to seize the moment back. Anyway, as I was saying about the Century City project. But the mood was broken. People were whispering. He had gone too far. He hadn't just insulted his wife. He had been cruel. Victor! Chloe hissed, her fingers digging into his arm, her smile gone. That was too much. It was the truth, Victor snapped, suddenly defensive. Let's go get a real drink. He pushed his way toward the bar, ignoring the stares. He didn't know that Amelia was not heading for her car. He didn't know she was in a service elevator, riding up to a private suite on the penthouse level. He didn't know that in that suite, Marcus Harrison and a team of 4 corporate lawyers were waiting for her, with documents and laptops covering every surface. It's done, Amelia said as she walked in, peeling off her silver shawl and tossing it onto a chair. Her face, so quiet and placid downstairs, was now carved from granite. He did it, the public insult? Harrison asked gravely. He called me a house cat in front of 200 of our partners in the press, Amelia said, sitting at the head of the table. He toasted me for being simple. The lawyers winced. 10 o'clock, Harrison said, looking at his watch. Protocol is active, Madam Chairwoman. The first lockdowns are engaging now. Amelia nodded. Good. Freeze everything. Vanguard developments, his personal accounts, the joint accounts, the lines of credit. Everything. I want him to wake up tomorrow morning the man he truly is, a man with nothing. Interactive. Question. Theo Ban. Amelia đã có kế hoạch cho việc này từ khi nào? Là từ lúc Victor cười Chloe, hay là từ khi Victor lần đầu gọi cô ấy là simple, đơn giản? Hãy chia sẻ suy nghĩ của bạn ở phần bình luận. The Titans fall. Victor woke up to the agonizing sound of a leaf blower. His head felt as if it were filled with wet cement, and his mouth tasted like an ashtray. He fumbled for his phone, groaning. It was 9:30 a.m. He had stumbled home drunk and belligerent, celebrating his triumph with Chloe. Amelia's car was gone, and her side of the bed was untouched. Good. He wasn't in the mood for her silent judgment. He checked his phone. 17 missed calls from his CFO, David Chan. 3 from his head of construction. A dozen text messages. Victor, call me. It's an emergency. Where are you? The Ethelred lines are frozen. Our main accounts are blocked. I can't make payroll. Victor, what the hell did you do? Victor sat bolt upright, the hangover fleeing in a wash of icy panic. What? He dialed David Chan. The man answered on the first ring. David, what is this? I just saw your messages. Victor, thank God. What did you do? Ethelred just called in our entire revolving line of credit. They're citing a breach of trust clause. All our operating capital is frozen. Everything, Victor. What? They can't do that. Victor scrambled out of bed and rushed to his home office. It's a glitch. Call Harrison. Call their finance department. I have, David shrieked, his voice cracking with panic. I've been on the phone since 6 a.m. All Ethelred contacts have disappeared. Their lines are disconnected. Their emails are bouncing. It's like the entire holding company has vanished. And Victor, it's not just the corporate accounts. What do you mean? Victor said, his hand shaking as he tried to log into his laptop. My security team just called. Your access codes to the Vanguard mainframe were revoked last night at 10:01 p.m. Mine too. We're locked out of our own company. That's impossible. His laptop login screen blinked. Access denied. His blood ran cold. He tried his personal bank, a private account with Chase Bank where he kept his pocket money. He entered his password. A new screen popped up. Account frozen. Please contact a bank representative. No. He tried his American Express Centurion card. He called the number on the back. Mr. Sterling, a polite automated voice said, your account has been suspended by the primary account holder. What primary account holder? I am the primary account holder. The primary holder of this corporate account, the voice clarified, is listed as A.M. Sterling, Ethelred Holdings. Victor dropped the phone. A.M. Sterling, Amelia, Maria, his wife's name. It had to be a coincidence, a clerical error, a horrible, catastrophic clerical error. Amelia. The house was silent. He ran to their master closet. Her side was empty. Not a single dress, not a single pair of shoes, only a row of empty velvet hangers. He ran to the ensuite bathroom. Her toiletries, her skincare, her ridiculous expensive French perfumes. All gone. She had left him. Fine. She could have her little dramatic fit. But how could she freeze his accounts? It made no sense. His phone rang again. It was Chloe. "Richie," she said, her voice sharp and brittle. "I'm downstairs. Your gate isn't working. The guard says my name isn't on the list." "What? Wait." Victor was frantically pulling on clothes. "I'm having some security issues. A system glitch." "Well, fix it. I left my laptop in your study and my card was declined at the coffee shop. It was embarrassing." "Your card? My corporate Amex. It's declined." "What is going on, Victor? Last night you looked like a god, and now everything is falling apart. Fix it." She sounded less like a mistress and more like an angry creditor. "I'm on it. I'm driving to the office." He rushed to his garage, to his Aston Martin DB11. He pointed his remote key. Nothing. The garage door wouldn't open. The car lights wouldn't flash. A small green light on a new security panel he'd never seen before was blinking red. He was trapped in his own house. He ran to the front door just as a black car pulled up to the gate. A man in a simple dark suit stepped out and walked toward the keypad. He didn't use a code. He used a key. The massive iron gate swung open. The man, whom Victor didn't recognize, walked calmly up the stone path, carrying a briefcase. He didn't ring the bell. He used another key to open the front door. "Who in God's name are you?" Victor shouted from the top of the stairs. "This is private property. I'm calling the police." "That won't be necessary, Mr. Sterling," the man said, his voice placid. He set his briefcase on the foyer table. "My name is John Campos. I am part of the private security team, hired by the owner of this property." "I am the owner of this property." "No, sir. You are not," the man said simply. "This property, along with the vehicles, art, and furnishings, is owned by a private trust managed by Ethelred Holdings. As of 10:40 p.m. last night, your residency privileges have been revoked." Victor stared, his mind unable to process the words. "A trust? What trust?" "You are asked to vacate the premises. You will be allowed to take your personal effects, clothing, toiletries, etc. My team will escort you. A car will be provided to take you to a hotel of your choice, for which you will need to provide payment." You can't. This is my house. I bought this house." "The purchase, sir, was made by the Ethelred Trust on your behalf," Mr. Campos said, utterly unbothered by Victor's rage. "A courtesy that has now been rescinded." Amelia did this. It's her, isn't it? It's a divorce tactic. It's illegal." "I am not authorized to discuss Mrs. Sterling," the man said. "My instructions are simply to secure the property. You have 1 hour to pack a suitcase." "Or what?" Victor sneered, trying to regain his footing, his bravado. Mr. Campos looked at him, his eyes completely neutral. "Or you will be removed for trespassing, Mr. Sterling. And I assure you, you do not want the press, who are already gathering outside your gate, to get a photo of that." Victor's head swiveled toward the gate. Chloe was gone. In her place were 2 news vans. The first tremor was over. The earthquake had begun. Call to action. Show your support for ultimate justice by hitting the like button. The revelation. The next 48 hours were a descent into bureaucratic hell. Victor, humiliatingly escorted from his own home with a single suitcase, was dropped off at the St. Regis, New York. When he tried to check in, every single one of his personal credit cards was rejected. He was forced to use the last $3,000 in cash in his wallet to secure a room for 2 nights. He sat on the generic king-size bed, his world spinning. This wasn't a divorce tactic. This was an execution. He spent the entire day on the phone. His lawyers, a high-powered team from Skadden, ARPS, were baffled. "Victor, we've reviewed the Vanguard constitutional document," his lead attorney, Ben, said, his voice tinny over the speakerphone. "It's ironclad. You hold no equity stake. All your compensation, your bonus structure, even your property stake. It was all synthetic, tied to performance, and granted by Ethelred. They are the sole shareholder. We have never seen a structure like this. What does that mean? Synthetic? Victor yelled. It means you own nothing. You are a highly paid employee, Victor. An incredibly well-paid one, but an employee nonetheless. And the termination clause, my God, it references a morality and conduct rider that allows Ethelred to terminate for actions that discredit the parent company. What did you do? Victor thought of his toast, of calling his wife a house cat in public. It couldn't be. That was personal. This was business. It's my wife, Victor whispered, the terrible truth finally crystallizing. Amelia. Is it her? Your wife? What does she have to do with Ethelred? We're running a search on her. Amelia Maria Sterling, née Collado. Her parents were low-level software engineers. No personal wealth. No corporate stakes. She's a nobody, Victor. This is coming from Ethelred, not your wife. You don't understand, Victor said, his mind flashing back to the name on the Amex account. A.M. Sterling. It's her. It has to be. He tried calling Chloe. The call went straight to voicemail. He sent her a text. My accounts are frozen. It's a temporary hostile maneuver by my partners. I need a place to stay and some cash. Her reply came 3 hours later. Victor, I can't. My job? My reputation? I was your assistant. I can't be seen with you while this is happening. I'm sorry. I have to look out for myself. The Ethelred lawyers have already contacted me for an exit interview. He threw the phone against the wall. She had been his tigress, and at the first sign of blood in the water, she was gone. The news broke that afternoon. Vanguard CEO Victor Sterling fired. Partner company stocks plummet. Ethelred Holdings cleanse house in stunning move. What happened at the Sterling Gala? His name, his face, was everywhere. He was no longer the visionary. He was a disgrace. David Chen called him one last time. They're liquidating Victor, David said, his voice hollow. They're not replacing you. They're dissolving Vanguard Developments, selling the assets. Everyone is fired. 10,000 jobs lost. The whole damn thing. It was just a house of cards. Victor was drowning. 10,000 jobs. His legacy. His towers. All gone. Because he had insulted his wife. The power was too vast. The punishment too absolute. A wife, even a vindictive one, couldn't wield this kind of corporate power. On the third day, his money ran out. The hotel politely informed him his room key would be deactivated at 11 a.m. He was stranded, toxic, and penniless. Just as he was trying to figure out if he could sell his $20,000 Patek Philippe watch for cash, an email landed in his inbox. It was the only email that had managed to get through his firewall. The sender, Office of the Chairwoman, Ethelred Holdings. The subject, Mandatory Board Summons. The email body was brief. Mr. Sterling, you are hereby summoned to the executive headquarters of Ethelred Holdings, 1000 Park Avenue, 44th floor, on Friday, October 20th, 10:03 a.m. Sharp. Your presence is required to finalize your termination and discuss potential legal actions. A car will be waiting for you at your hotel. This was it. His chance to fight. He would meet this mysterious board. He would meet the real power behind Ethelred. He would make his case. He would threaten to sue for something. He wasn't going down without a fight. He would find out who this A.M. Sterling really was. He put on his last clean Tom Ford suit, the one he'd worn to the gala, now wrinkled from his suitcase. He tried to project the image of the titan he had been just 3 days prior, but looking in the mirror, he saw a desperate, terrified man whose world had been ripped out from under him by an invisible hand. The unveiling. The Ethelred Holdings headquarters occupied the top 3 floors of the most exclusive skyscraper on Park Avenue, one of the few on the skyline Victor hadn't built. The lobby was a cathedral of black marble and smoked glass, silent save for the hiss of the water feature. It was a place of quiet, terrifying, old money. Victor gave his name to the receptionist, who looked at him with open, icy disdain. "Mr. Sterling, they are expecting you." He was escorted to a private elevator. There was no button for the 44th floor. The security guard used a biometric hand scanner, and the elevator began its ascent, fast and silent. The doors opened directly into a reception area. A stern-looking woman ushered him through to a set of massive oak doors. "They are waiting." Victor straightened his suit jacket, took a deep breath, and pushed the doors open. The boardroom was stunning. It was dominated by a single 50-foot slab of polished obsidian table. One entire wall was a floor-to-ceiling window overlooking all of New York, a view that made his old office view look like a keyhole. Seated around the table were a dozen people, men and women, in immaculate dark suits. He recognized them instantly, and his blood ran cold. This was not just a board. This was a pantheon. There was Koji Tanaka, the most feared private equity head in Asia. There was Lady Annabelle Grayson, who ran the EU's largest private asset portfolio. There was General Marcus Phillips, formerly of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, who now advised the world's biggest defense contractors. And at the far end, standing nervously, was Marcus Harrison, the lawyer he had dismissed as a mere intermediary. These weren't backers. These were the people who owned the backers. These were people who could buy and sell countries before breakfast, and they all stared at him with undisguised contempt. "Mr. Sterling," Marcus Harrison said, his voice clipped. "Thank you for joining us. Please take a seat." He gestured to a single small chair placed in the middle of the room, several feet from the main table. It was the chair of the accused. Victor sat down, his heart slamming against his ribs. "This is a rather impressive collection of talent," Victor stammered. I wasn't aware." "That is precisely the problem, Victor," Lady Grayson said, her British accent cutting the air. "You weren't aware of a great deal." "I demand to know what is happening," Victor said, trying to regain his old bravado. "I have been ruined. My company has been destroyed." "For what? For a joke?" "For this is grossly unprofessional. It is tortious interference." "Unprofessional," Koji Tanaka repeated, his voice silky soft. "A man who publicly compares his life partner to livestock, lecturing us on professionalism. A bold strategy." This is over, Amelia," Victor said in disbelief. "You are liquidating a $10 billion portfolio over a domestic dispute?" "We are liquidating a portfolio because its CEO proved to be a catastrophic liability," General Phillips thundered. "You were given a simple test, Mr. Sterling, a test of character, and you failed it in the most public way imaginable." "What test? Who is in charge here? What are you people to her?" Marcus Harrison looked at the empty, high-backed leather chair at the absolute head of the table. "We are the board of directors. We advise. We manage. But we do not rule. Our job is to execute the vision of our founder and chairwoman." "Then I want to speak to her," Victor demanded. "I want to speak to this A.M. Sterling. Where is she?" "Hidden away as always?" "That is true," Harrison said. "She has always believed the work should speak for itself. She built this firm from nothing, and her one rule was that her privacy remain absolute. She wanted a quiet life. She trusted us to manage her empire. But," Lady Grayson added, "she also believed in having insurance. She believed in placing her valuable assets in the care of someone she could implicitly trust. Someone who, by their very nature, would be underestimated." "What are you talking about?" Victor whispered, a nascent, sickening horror rising in his throat. "She is not hiding, Mr. Sterling," Harrison said, his eyes moving toward the main boardroom doors. "She was merely running late. She had to finalize the liquidation of your empire. The massive oak doors." Victor turned. Amelia walked in. But this was not the Amelia he knew. This was not the quiet, mousy woman in yoga pants. This was not the house cat. She was wearing an impeccable Armani charcoal suit, so sharp it looked like it could cut glass. Her hair, usually pulled back in a simple ponytail, was coiled in a severe, intricate bun. Her simple gray eyes were now the color of a winter storm, and they were fixed on him with a heart-stopping intensity. She carried a leather portfolio and was flanked by two lawyers he recognized from the firm of Wachtell Lipton, the most ruthless M&A litigators on the planet. She did not look at Victor. She walked with a silent, terrifying authority to the head of the table. The entire legendary board rose to its feet as she approached. She took her seat in the empty chairwoman's chair. Marcus Harrison pulled out her seat. "Madam Chairwoman, welcome." "Thank you, Marcus. Please, everyone, be seated," Amelia said. Her voice was the same, but the tone was completely different. It was crisp, commanding, and utterly cold. Victor was paralyzed. He was vibrating. He couldn't form a thought. "Amelia? What? What is this? Geese? A joke? You're one of them? A secretary?" Amelia finally turned her head. She looked at him not as a wife looks at a husband, but as a scientist looks at a failed experiment under a microscope. "Hello, Victor," she said. "Please refrain from speaking, unless spoken to. We have much to get through." She opened her portfolio. "Let the record show," she began, "that on this day, the board meets to ratify the termination with cause of Mr. Victor Sterling, CEO of the now dissolved Vanguard Developments portfolio." Victor finally found his voice. It came out as a choked gasp. You are A.M. Sterling? You?" Amelia looked up, her expression one of mild annoyance. "Yes, Amelia Maria Sterling. I founded Ethelred Holdings 12 years ago. Vanguard Developments was my pet project. And you, Victor, were my biggest disappointment." The silence in the room was absolute. The only sound was the faint ticking of the Patek Philippe watch on Victor's wrist, a watch he now realized she had bought him. "You," he stammered, his mind short-circuiting. "But your parents? You were simple." The word hung in the air, grotesque and foolish. Amelia actually smiled. It was the most terrifying expression Victor had ever seen. Simple? Yes, that was the point. My father didn't just mess around with software, Victor. He designed the core encryption algorithm for the first global-scale quantum network. He sold the patent for a sum that would make your entire net worth look like a rounding error. He and my mother hated the spotlight, so they retired to a quiet life. And they raised me to value one thing above all else: privacy. She leaned forward. I took that inheritance, and at 24, I founded Ethelred. I didn't want my name or face in Forbes. I didn't want to be on magazine covers. I wanted to build. So I created a structure. I hired Marcus, here, and this brilliant board to be the public avatars of the firm. I remained anonymous, the solitary A.M. Sterling, pulling the strings from a quiet life. And I, Victor whispered, the blood draining from his face. What was I? You, Amelia said, her voice clinical. We're an experiment. I met you when you were a mid-level manager at a small firm. You had a spark. You were ambitious, driven. I thought you were brilliant. I fell for that drive, I believed. Here is a man I can build with. Then you financed me. I didn't finance you, Victor. I created you, she stated. I founded Vanguard Developments for you. I cleared the path. I fed you the capital. I made the calls behind the scenes to get your permits approved. Your vision, your Midas touch. It was my capital, my connections, and my strategy. You were just the arrogant, loud-mouthed front man I put in place to take the credit. Because, unlike you, I don't need credit. I need results. Victor shook his head, denial battling with the horrific, obvious truth. But our life, the house, the parties, you were just my wife. Yes, Amelia said, and I liked that part. I wanted a partner. I wanted a home. I thought I could have both. I thought you loved me, Amelia, the simple woman, not the CEO of Ethelred. It was the perfect test, and for a few years it worked. But you became lost. You started believing your own press. You started believing you were the titan, and I was just the house cat. She gestured to the lawyers. The gala was not your first mistake. It was simply the last. For 2 years, Victor, I've been watching you. You began to embezzle. Never! Do not lie! She snapped. And for the first time, her voice cracked like a whip. The entire board flinched. The red Versace dress for Miss Davis, charged to a Vanguard corporate account as client entertainment. The yacht you charter in the Hamptons, rented by a shell company funded through Vanguard's discretionary budget. The 3-carat diamond earrings you bought her for her birthday, classified as partner gifts. You were not just cheating on a wife, Victor. You were stealing from a chairwoman. You were stealing from me. She pushed a thick folder across the table. That is a full forensic audit of your last 24 months. You have defrauded Ethelred Holdings out of approximately $4.2 million, enough to put you in federal prison for a long, long time. Victor stopped breathing. Prison. Amelia, please, he pleaded, his voice breaking. He slid out of the small chair and fell to his knees. Amelia, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I was an idiot. I was arrogant. Please don't do this. I love you. I've always loved you. Amelia looked down at the pathetic, broken man kneeling on the marble floor. Her face was completely impassive. No, Victor. You loved the idea of me. You loved having someone quiet to clean up your messes. You loved having a lamb so you could feel like a tiger. The insult? That I could have almost forgiven. People say stupid, cruel things. But you said it in front of my partners. You said it in front of the press. You compromised my position. You humiliated A.M. Sterling, not just Amelia. You mistook my privacy for weakness and my silence for stupidity. And in doing so, you proved yourself to be not only a bad husband, but a reckless, terrible CEO. She stood up. The board has voted. Your termination is effective immediately for cause, citing gross misconduct and embezzlement. Ethelred will not press charges. A small sliver of hope ignited in Victor's eyes. On one condition, Amelia continued, her voice dropping to an icy whisper. You will sign this. A lawyer placed a single document in front of him. It is a full confession and a divorce settlement. You will walk away with nothing. Not the house, not the cause, not the art, not a single dollar. You will admit to the fraud, and in exchange for my silence, you will disappear. You will relinquish any and all claims to my assets, Ethelred's assets, and you will sign a permanent global non-disclosure agreement, NDA. If you ever utter my name, or Ethelred's, or connect me to it in any way, the full force of this firm's legal team and the Attorney General's office will come down on you. You will die in prison. Victor's hands were shaking so badly he couldn't hold the pen. You built your entire identity on my money, Victor. Now you get to see what you are worth without it. He looked at her, his eyes swimming with tears. Amelia, please. I am nothing without you. Amelia felt a final, chilling confirmation. I know. Sign the papers. He picked up the pen and scrawled his name, his signature a frantic, desperate streak. Good, Amelia said. She turned to her head of security. Mr. Campos, escort Mr. Sterling from the building. He is now, officially, a trespasser. Victor was hauled to his feet. As they led him past the obsidian table, past the silent, powerful board, he looked one last time at the woman he had called his wife. She had already turned away, looking out the window over the city she owned. Her city. She was already discussing fourth-quarter projections with Lady Grayson, as if he had never been in the room. The New York Ghost. 6 months later, the cover of Forbes was not a man. It was Amelia. The photo was an austere, black and white portrait. Her gray eyes looked directly into the camera, radiating unmistakable intelligence and power. The headline was simple: "The billion-dollar ghost, A.M. Sterling, steps out of the shadows." The story detailed the shocking dissolution of Vanguard Developments, exposing Victor Sterling as a profligate, fraudulent CEO who had been living off the genius of his anonymous, powerful wife. It painted a picture of a woman who, for a decade, had been the most powerful and unseen force in global finance. Amelia Gadtia, it turned out, hadn't just liquidated Vanguard. She had reallocated its assets. She had taken the best projects, the few brilliant but overlooked engineers, and the soundest assets, and merged them into a new, leaner, more aggressive firm under her direct control. Sterling Corp. It was already valued at triple what Vanguard had been. Her days of hiding were over. She was seen in Davos, in London, in Tokyo. She moved through the world not as Victor's +1, but as the titan she had always been. The lamb was, it turned out, the dragon who owned the entire mountain. And Victor? He was a ghost of another kind. He lived in a $200 a month studio in the Bronx, the paint peeling off the walls. The NDA and the confession had blackballed him from the industry forever. No one would hire him. No one would speak to him. He had sold his Patek Philippe to pay the rent, his Tom Ford suits to buy groceries. He was a temp employee. He worked in the mailroom of a mid-level insurance firm, a job he had gotten by using his college degree and omitting the last decade of his resume. One afternoon, he was sorting mail when he saw the Forbes magazine pass by, his replacement's name on the subscription. He looked at Amelia's face. He saw the woman who had shared his bed, the woman who had organized his sock drawer, the woman he had dismissed so completely. He thought of the power, the money, the life. He had held the winning lottery ticket in his hand for 10 years, and he had set it on fire because he was too arrogant to read the numbers. He tossed the magazine in the correct box and moved to the next. His hands, which had once signed $100 million deals, now fumafe. Rough and stained with ink. Across the city, in the 44th floor boardroom, Amelia Sterling stood by the window. "Madam Chairwoman," her new assistant Sarah said, "the Goldman Sachs team is here to discuss the Sterling Corp IPO. They seem very nervous." Amelia smiled. A real, genuine smile. "Good. Let them be nervous. Send them in." And Sarah, "Yes, ma'am. Please order lunch for the entire team and have them check the air conditioning in the engineering room. Those new quantum servers are running hot, and I want my people to be comfortable." "Right away," Sarah said, scribbling a note. Amelia looked at the city, the half-finished towers that had once been Victor's. Her new firm was already buying them, refitting them, finishing them her way. She had taken his name off every plaque, every building, every letterhead. She had built an empire. She had hidden inside it for protection, and she had been forced to burn it down. But now, from the ashes, she was building a new one. And this time, there would be only one name on the door: her own. The winter in the Bronx was a grim affair of cold, persistent rain. Victor Sterling stood under the awning of a bus stop, sipping lukewarm coffee. The thin jacket he'd bought at a thrift store barely kept out the cold. His mailroom shift was over, and he was just trying to muster the energy to take the bus back to his peeling studio apartment. A car pulled to the curb in front of him, its engine a low, purring growl that was alien to this neighborhood. It was a black Maybach, polished to a mirror shine. A chauffeur rushed to open the back door with a large black umbrella. A leg emerged, then a figure. It was Amelia. Victor's heart stopped. He physically recoiled. pressing himself against the dirty plexiglass of the bus stop. She was here, in his humble neighborhood. She wore a cream wool coat that likely cost more than his entire annual salary. She looked sharp, focused, and utterly out of place. "The acquisition is final, Sarah," Amelia's voice, crisp and cutting through the rain, said to her assistant. "I want the new server integration to begin Monday. This AI algorithm is the final piece for Sterling's core logistics network." Victor's blood ran cold. This building, the one he passed every day. She had bought it. She was here, on his street, expanding her empire into the last place he had felt safe from her memory. He must have made a sound, a gasp, a choked curse, because her head turned. Her eyes, clear and gray like the rainy sky, swept over the bus stop. They passed over him. Then they came back, their gazes locking across the 20 feet of wet pavement. Victor froze. He saw everything in that second. The man he was, the man he had become. The cheap coffee, the frayed cuffs, the hollow look in his own eyes. Amelia looked at him. There was no recognition. There was no hatred. There was no pity. There was no triumph. There was nothing. It was the look a person gives a stranger they've accidentally made eye contact with on a train. It was a brief, impersonal flicker of acknowledgement that another human being was occupying space, followed by an immediate and total dismissal. In that single, empty gaze, Victor Sterling was not her ex-husband. He was not the man who betrayed her. He was not even the man she destroyed. He was just a random, shivering man at a bus stop. She turned back to her assistant, as if he had never existed. "Let's go. We're late for the Tokyo board call." She and Sarah walked into the building. The chauffeur closed the door behind them. Victor stood alone under the rain, his whole body trembling. The humiliation at the gala, the firing, the eviction. None of it compared to this. Being looked at with such complete, crushing indifference. He was so far beneath her, he wasn't even worthy of being an enemy. He was simply irrelevant. His coffee cup crumpled in his hand. The bus pulled up, its brakes hissing. He didn't get on. He stood there, staring at the empty curb where the Maybach had been, soaking in the cold, hard rain. Final thoughts and call to action. And that is the end of our story, everyone. A brutal lesson in why you should never, ever confuse kindness with weakness or privacy with lack of power. Victor thought he was the shark in the pond, but he was just a goldfish swimming in her ocean. She gave him the world, and he insulted her in it. So she did the only thing she could. She took it all back. Was Amelia's ultimate revenge too harsh? Or did Victor get exactly what he deserved? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. If you love stories of justice, dramatic twists, and powerful characters who get the last word, then you've come to the right place. Click the like button if you enjoyed this story, and share it with someone else who loves a good dose of drama. Most importantly, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. We release new, gripping stories like this every week, and you don't want to miss what's coming next. Thanks for listening.